January of 2026 was a pretty heavy month in the American market when it comes to car headaches. There were major recalls, there were federal investigations, and there were famous models coming under scrutiny for failures that can affect safety and reliability. So today I'm going to show you the top 7 cars that had the most problems in January of 2026 in the United States, in a list based on recalls and investigations released during that period. If you own one of these models, or if you are thinking about buying a used or certified pre-owned vehicle here in the USA, stay with me until the end, because the number 1 spot is the kind of case that many people would never imagine actually happening. This list is not opinion-based, and it does not have a favorite brand or a villain brand. Everything you are going to see here is based on public data, using official recalls and investigations announced in January of 2026 in the American market. That does not mean that every single one of these cars will have problems, but it does mean that they showed up with higher risk, more alerts, and more attention from safety authorities during that month. The idea of the video is simple: to help you stay informed so you're not caught by surprise, whether you are an owner, a buyer, or just someone who is curious about cars. In the number 7 position of our ranking is the Mazda CX-90 model year 2024, sold in the American market. In January of 2026, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opened a federal investigation involving this SUV due to ongoing reports of an issue known as sticky steering. In practice, some drivers reported that the steering can become heavier or offer unexpected resistance while driving, which increases risk especially in curves, on highways, or during emergency maneuvers. What draws even more attention in this case is that the CX-90 had already gone through a steering-related recall, but even after the repair, new complaints continued to appear. Because of this, the investigation was reopened to understand whether the problem was actually resolved or if there is a more serious flaw in the system. If you own a Mazda CX-90 from model year 2024, the most important thing is to confirm that all recalls were completed correctly and to closely follow any possible new notices, because steering problems are never something that can be ignored. In the number 6 position of our top 7 appears an extremely popular model in the United States, especially among people looking for fuel savings and electric technology. We are talking about the Volkswagen ID.4, model years 2023, 2024, and 2025. In January of 2026, Volkswagen announced a recall in the USA involving more than 44,000 vehicles due to a possible overheating issue in the high-voltage battery, which in extreme cases can increase the risk of fire. This type of problem is treated with maximum priority by American authorities precisely because it involves the heart of an electric vehicle. As an immediate measure, the automaker recommended software updates and inspections of the battery system, which in some cases may lead to the replacement of components. For owners of an ID.4 from these model years, the guidance is clear. Check the VIN, follow all recall instructions, and do not ignore any battery-related warning, because this is not the kind of failure that gives a second chance. In the number 5 position is a vehicle that many people trust precisely because of the brand's reputation, but that ended up appearing in an important recall in the American market in January of 2026. Here we have the Toyota Tundra, including both the regular Tundra and the Tundra Hybrid, model years 2024 and 2025. The identified issue involves the multimedia system, which can experience failures in the central screen, such as freezing or loss of image. In some cases, this can affect important functions like the rear-view camera display or other information used during maneuvers, which raises a real safety concern. Approximately 162,000 pickup trucks were called in for recall in the United States. Toyota stated that the fix involves a software update and, if necessary, replacement of the affected module. For owners of a Tundra from these model years, the message is simple. Even though it is a robust and reliable pickup truck, this type of electronic failure should not be ignored, and it is worth checking whether the recall has already been performed to avoid day-to-day problems. In the number 4 position of our top 7 appears one of Ford's most talked about electric vehicles. We are talking about the Ford F-150 Lightning, model years from 2022 through 2026. In January of 2026, Ford issued a large-scale recall in the United States due to a possible failure in the system that keeps the vehicle locked in the P position. In specific situations, the vehicle may not remain properly parked, increasing the risk of it moving on its own, known as rollaway. This type of issue is considered serious by safety authorities because it can cause accidents even when the vehicle appears to be stationary. Thousands of units were affected as part of a recall that also involves other models from the brand. The solution indicated by Ford involves updates and corrections to electronic modules. For owners of an F-150 Lightning, the recommendation is clear. Do not ignore this recall and make sure the repair has been completed, because a failure in the parking system is something that can quickly turn into a major problem. In the number 3 position appears a large, family-oriented SUV that is very popular in the United States. We are talking about the Hyundai Palisade, model years from 2020 through 2025. In January of 2026, Hyundai announced a massive recall involving around 568,000 vehicles due to an issue with the third-row side and curtain airbags. According to the information released, these airbags may not provide adequate protection in the event of a collision, which is extremely serious, especially in a vehicle designed for families and long trips. When a recall involves an airbag system, the level of risk is considered high by American authorities because it directly affects occupant safety. If you own a Palisade from these model years, it is essential to check whether the recall has already been completed, because an airbag is not an optional feature, it is basic safety. In the number 2 position of our top 7 is an electric car that became the gateway for many people into the EV world in the United States. Here we have the Volkswagen ID.4, model years 2023, 2024, and 2025. And yes, it appears on the list again because the severity of the issue placed the model among the most concerning cases of January of 2026. During that month, a recall was announced due to the risk of overheating in the high-voltage battery, something that in extreme situations can lead to a fire. This type of failure is treated as a maximum priority by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration because it involves direct safety not only for the occupants, but also for people around the vehicle. The recall includes software updates, detailed inspections, and in some cases, the replacement of components within the battery system. That is why the ID.4 rises so high in the ranking. When the problem involves an EV battery, the level of attention changes completely. If you own an ID.4 from these model years, there is no room for delay. Checking the VIN and following the recall is essential. In the number 1 position of our top 7 is a problem that drew a lot of attention in January of 2026 because it involves something basic: the car actually staying still when you put it in P. Here we have the Mustang Mach-E, along with other Ford models affected by the same recall, mainly the Mach-E from model years 2024 through 2026 and the Maverick from model years 2025 through 2026. The identified issue is a possible failure in the electronic module of the parking system, which can cause the vehicle not to be fully locked, increasing the risk of the car moving on its own, the so-called rollaway. This type of failure is considered extremely serious by American authorities because it can cause accidents even when no one is inside the vehicle. In January of 2026, this recall gained major attention precisely because of the number of vehicles involved and the potential risk in everyday situations, such as parking on a slope or inside a garage. The fix involves updating and reprogramming electronic modules, and the recommendation for owners of a Mach-E or Maverick from these model years is clear. Immediately check whether the recall has already been completed, because this is not a problem that gives any warning before it happens. And those were the 7 cars that caused the most headaches in the American market in January of 2026, based on official recalls and investigations. It is worth remembering, a recall does not mean that a car is bad, but ignoring a recall can turn a small technical detail into a big problem. If you own or have owned any of these models, leave a comment below and share your experience. And if you want the next list to be based on real owner complaints, straight from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration database, write complaints in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you do not buy yourself a headache in the future.